What do we want?
Reparation.
And when do we want it?
Now.
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, I am going to throw it back to my sister Lily X. We are now going into our reparations now discussion. This discussion will highlight the importance of Pan-African youth and young adults getting involved in the reparations now movement in 2020 and beyond, as well as highlight events and strategies being done around the country by our youth and young adults working in grassroots movements for social justice and reparations. So we are going into what we call what the youth them doing, and y'all be the youth. So yes. This is how we're gonna do this. All of our youth activists, and we're gonna go in this order, please. Sister Lily, we'll have you go first. Brother Antonio, we'll have you come follow her. Sister Alicia is not in yet, right?
No.
What about Lady Freedom? All right, then Sister Oli Matata, you'll follow our brother Antonio Travis. And then our brother Kumasi Amin. And then our brother Sammy Sanchez. And then bringing us our keynote, or our keynote person here will be the youngest president of the NAACP, coming out of Minneapolis, our sister Leslie Redmond. Youth activists, we want you to tell our participants again, introduce yourself, tell us your age, tell us why you are a youth activist, what inspired you to be a youth activist, how long you've been a youth activist, some of the movements that you've been affiliated or supporting, and anything else you would like to share with us. Definitely shout out where you're from.
Thank you so much, Sister Yomi. So to kickstart this conversation, again, my name is Sister Lily X. At least that is my street name as I'm doing this work. Those of you that know me, you may know me by Lorne Lane Brown. But this discussion will highlight the importance of Pan-African youth and young adults getting involved in the hashtag Reparations Now movement, specifically getting involved in 2020 and beyond, because this is not a one-time thing. This is not an overnight thing. This is something that we are carrying the foundation for, because foundation has already been laid. We are carrying the foundation for until we receive our reparations, and ensure that reparations will be given to those who come after us. So we will be highlighting events and strategies being done around the country by other grassroots movements, social justice movements. And we will see that there will be a accumulation of experiences from our leaders who share their stories. So I will start with myself. My name is Sister Lily X. I am 28 years young, a proud millennial, born and raised in Minneapolis, Minnesota, but I am currently residing in Dallas, Texas. I have been there for the past 3+ years, but currently I am home because I needed a break and I needed some sanctity, and I needed to connect with some of my comrades that I had grew up with. What got me into this work? I mean, I'm a young adult myself, but I did start, I believe, as a youth myself, working with other youth, and then just carried that on throughout my college years through organizations such as the YMCA, Big Brothers Big Sisters, the Boys and Girls Club. You know, those were some of the mainstream advocacy organizations that were able to give me space to work with youth. And at that time, youth were labeled at-risk youth, inner city youth, you know, hashtag the bad kids, right? Yeah. But then you get in the space with all the kids and you're like, oh, what's poppin'? Like, what are y'all doing? Like, this is real cool. So turned into the best job or position that I ever had in my life, working at the YMCA for about 3-4 years, a couple years post-college. But during that time, Trayvon Martin was murdered. So this was 2014, 6 years ago. And at that time, as a 19-something-year-old, trying to figure out, you know, like where I fit in, to that mix, on top of trying to educate these middle school and elementary age youth that I was working with, how to raise their voices, that I was actually simultaneously growing into my activism along with these youth that I was trying to teach. So I just went back to the Kumba. I went to our creativity that we have as people. Got some Skittles, got some iced tea, got my camera because I was doing photography at that time, and we did a memorial photo shoot, and it ended up going viral. And just seeing like how empowered that made my students feel, seeing themselves go viral on the internet for a good cause, for Trayvon Martin, and speaking about this young man that was much like them, not too far off from my age. And after that, the ball kind of just kept rolling. It didn't stop. I thought education was where I was going to be making my mark. So that's actually what took me to Dallas. I was working with special populations in the Texas education system. And when I saw that I wasn't going to be able to affect the change that I wanted there, that I was not going to get my reparations through the Dallas Independent School District, I was like, okay, pivot. No change. I was like, okay, pivot. I will be focusing on grassroots organizing and building that connection. And that's what I've been doing for the last 3 years. I recently left a position with the ACLU. And since then, I have been doing like freelance grassroots organizing. I was recently the deputy director of the Dallas Peace and Justice Center. And I currently just got appointed to the Public Safety Advisory Committee for the city of Dallas so that we can hashtag defund the police.
Okay.
So but they don't know that yet. They think I'm coming in with a halo and all this other stuff, but they finna find out.
All right.
That budget. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm very grateful to be in this space. I'm very excited to be with other like-minded peers. Please don't hate me if I'm stalking y'all in the chat trying to get your information, because this is just such a precious space to be in. And I'm just so honored to continue this conversation and continue this work with y'all. So I'm gonna pass it to Brother Antonio Travis to give us a bit of his background and hear some of the work that he's doing. Make sure you give us your age and where you're from.
Y'all, everybody can hear me?
Yes, sir.
I'm clear. Appreciate it. My name is Antonio Travis. I'm born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana.
All right.
I'm 27 years of age. First of all, I want to thank, I'm honored to be a part of this. Like, I appreciate y'all. And I want to send a special shout out to Brother Hashim Jabbar, my mentor, man, who he hit me up all the time. And always dropping jewels on me and always putting me in places to elevate my leadership. But now for me, I think just for me, man, I was tired of people always writing my story. I was tired of people always, the narratives, man, like the narratives you got to grow up with in this country, with being a Black person, being a Black male is crazy, and you buy into it. And for me, living in poverty here in New Orleans, and then going through poverty and then going through Hurricane Katrina, and then traveling and having folks, calling you a refugee. I didn't even know what a refugee was, but that's what I thought I was, because I got called a refugee so much. I just thought that meant you from New Orleans or something. But when I was young, for me, what really pushed me into this work, besides my background and how I grew up, because I think my life has always prepared me to be in this type of work. But I think what really set a lightning bolt for me was when I attended what we call a non-functioning charter school here in New Orleans, Louisiana. If you don't know, New Orleans is 100% charter. So, we got like 30 different districts up in here. You can't, it's a war zone out here. I went to a school that preached respectability politics. And I wasn't sure what respectability politics was at the time, but it always made me feel uneasy. So my school did a good job of programming us to be extremely dependent. And they programmed us to basically believe that what you see Black isn't what it is. If you want to survive in this country, if you want to make it in this country, you need to mimic white people. You need to come out with a certain style. You need to look a certain type of way. You need to talk a certain type of way. You need to have that suit and tie on at all times. That was our school uniform. And so for 4 years, it was straight lines with tape. And we was in trailers. We didn't even have a big school. So we got walked to class for 4 years through high school. and you had a teacher on side you. We had silent lunches for 4 years. And not even talking about past trauma, because I always tell people, I'm not just telling my story. I share the story with so many people. You normalize it. So all the horrific things, all the things people do to dehumanize you as a black person or to make you feel inferior because you're black, you normalize it. And that's what we did for 4 years. You know, it didn't hit us until we dropped out of college, right? So we go, they able to just pass us along each year through class. They reached this 100% graduation rate. And everybody like, oh, the school did it. They took these poor black young men, they graduated them, and they sending them off to college. Over 90% of us dropped out within the first 2 years. We accumulated debt because we was taking remedial classes. We didn't learn nothing. We come back home, the federal minimum wage is $7.25. So you don't want to work those jobs. So then what's next, right? And then we talk about that pipeline. We talk about, you know, the school to prison, well, not the school to prison pipeline, but just that pipeline that send you astray. And so it didn't start dawning on me until I came back from college. Actually, my first day of college, because it does something to you psychologically when you go to a school and you treat it like a prisoner. And so because my teacher walked me to class for 4 years, my first day of college, I thought my professor was supposed to come get me from my dorm room because that's how I was programmed. So my first day of college was one of the hardest days of my life. I wasn't even prepared for it socially or emotionally. So, excuse me. So, you know, coming back from that, and again, not just myself, because they shipped us all to the same college, right? So these people, superintendents places and stuff, they got all these awards and stuff because they passed us along each year. And so coming back, I lost brothers to suicide, mass incarceration, you name it. You know, we just dropping off like flies. And then I noticed then, I really started to pay attention to how the different methods, the different ways that they attack our community. You know, when we talk about housing, policing, we're talking about all these different avenues, education, like all these different ways they're attacking our community. And we have people in the fight. We have people who doing great work. And I just felt like, bro, like these are people who I built bonds with. These people are dying. So I volunteered with a nonprofit organization out here in New Orleans called Families and Friends of Louisiana's Incarcerated Children. They've been around for over 20 years. They've been dedicated in the fight to abolishing prisons in New Orleans, and that was my foot in. And I used to go only to stay out my mama's house because I didn't have a job. You know, black man with no job, that ain't happening. So I just used to volunteer with that organization because I didn't want to work that minimum wage job that wasn't gonna pay me nothing. So I just used to stick with them, and then, you know, and then I started to get invested, and I started to see the actual work that was going on. And I said, shit, we need this. And so what I did was I took my brothers from who I went to high school with, and we started a movement called Black Men Rising Movement. And so the movement is centered in healing, because for us as black men, you know, it's so much trauma and baggage that we don't even know how to articulate, you know. And so again, my brothers, like I said, I lost brothers to suicide who killed themselves, who are in jail because all of that baggage. And I'm talking about, you wouldn't even have to include Hurricane Katrina, how you grew up, but just those 4 years in that high school with being suspended every 5 days. Mom got to work 2 jobs. She can't go to school. Our parents can't advocate the same way, you know. So it's just like, it was just a lot of stuff that was bottled in it. And it just pushed me to thinking more critically and thinking about what's going on around us. What's going on around me? Why my street name Robert E. Lee? Like, you start with small stuff you never pay attention to. I didn't know who Robert E. Lee was, but you rep it. You know, I'm from this place, Robert. You don't know who it is, but you start to ask yourself questions when you start to pay attention to how stuff start moving. And so that's how it started with me. It started with my high school really pushed me into it. We got a movement called Black Men Rising Movement, where it's a safe space for black men, where we start off, we centered in healing, and then we go into advocacy, and we do what we do, and we're unapologetic about how we do it and what we do, you know. And so for me, learning about NCOBRA and learning about reparations, it's almost like, I don't know what it is with black people, but I just don't understand. Like, it's like folks could do so much stuff to us as a people, and when we ask for what we are owed, or when we talk about what we, what we supposed to get, we want a handout. It's like all these narratives about us that's like, it never made sense to me. Like, so reparations is something that I definitely been looking into. And like I said, shout out to Brother Hashem, because he's been putting me on game about it and what's been going on and the work that's been going on around reparations. Because to us out here, you know, it wasn't something we hear about it, but it wasn't something we really looked at or talked about. We never really talked about, not amongst our circles. And then Brother Hashem put us on game, and now it's real out here. people really out here doing work behind that. So I was like, well, you got to put us on that because we got to get in that. They're already uncomfortable when we walk in rooms. Shit, I need an NCOBRA shirt that said reparations now. They already don't, they already feel some type of way when they see us now. Like I got my Black Lives Matter abolish prison shirt on. They stare at us every time because, for whatever reason, it's not by design. If you see a group of us walk in, we just some big black brothers. It's not intentional, but that's just what it is, and we're young. It is what it is. But now I greatly appreciate y'all. Again, Antonio Travis, I'm from New Orleans, Black Man Rising movement, and I'm just excited to get more education and to learn more about the work and everything that's going on, so I can make sure we on game out here in New Orleans, so we can do what we need to do to keep the stuff going. So as in the Black Man Rising, when we done talking, we say y'all me. So I'm talking right there, and I'm gonna pass that.
Y'all me.
All right.
Yes.
And our national co-chair, Brother Cam, said, get that man a shirt. So we're going to get you a shirt.
Oh, we got you. We already got you.
Shirt. You ain't got to worry about
Don't even worry about it. Matter of fact, we're going to send everybody a shirt from this year's convention. It was scheduled to be in our hometown of Selma, Alabama, historic Selma, Alabama. But when this scamdemic came up and we all got quarantined, which I don't understand, because usually you get quarantined when you're sick, and I ain't sick. So this looked like house arrest to me. But anyway, That's a whole nother subject. Okay. But we have t-shirts for everybody because we want y'all to rep in Cobra. And it does have the logo.
Mine, Gambia.
And, oh, yeah, yours is going to the Gambia, absolutely. And it does have our Brother Jamoke, where are you? Because the banner is behind you. It has our logo that we created this year. He went MIA on us, but you definitely will be getting that shirt, brother. All right. And
right.
You said you were 27, right, brother?
Yes, ma'am. 27.
And Sister Lily, 27 as well?
28.
Oh, excuse me, madame. 28. I love it. All right. Who's next? Sister Alicia didn't get in yet. Brother Shabaka, did you see my text?
Me. I'm next.
All right, Brother Jamoke has a shirt.
Hold on. We coming, Oli. Brother Jamoke's got the shirt. Hold it up. There you go. There you go.
Oh, that's lit. I like
that. Because the youth are in the street. You know what I'm talking about? Whose streets?
Our street.
Whose streets?
Our street.
What do we want?
Reparations.
When do we want it?
Now.
What the youth them say?
Reparations today.
That's what I'm talking about. All right, we're going to throw it to you, Sister Oli Matata. This is my good friend. I have to let y'all know I would not be down here in Alabama if it wasn't for this queen, this empress right here, and her mother, who knew me from doing my work in Atlanta. And because they were affiliated with the National Voting Rights Museum and Institute in Selma, Alabama, who has a sister museum entitled the Ancient Africa Enslavement and Civil War Museum, who was looking for an interim director at that time. And they threw my name in a hat. And I've been down here, was supposed to serve 1 year as interim director, and that was in 2010. And this is 2020. So enough said. Go ahead, Queen.
Free the land, black
Free the
power.
land, black power.
Power to the people.
Power to the people.
Rasa.
Asheo.
Reparations now.
Yes.
Reparations now.
Greetings to everybody. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Oli Matata. My family calls me Oli. Currently, I'm in the Gambia, West Africa. It's 7 minutes to 11 now. So I got to be on. I didn't realize I had to do some work tonight. So I've been commissioned to work. So that's why I'm kind of rushing. But I had to be here to represent because I've been on the front lines of the movement since I was 13 years old. My mother is Connie Tucker. She is a living legend. Well, I should say not living anymore, but a legend for the movement, civil rights.
Busting at me. So she ran somewhere.
And you already know it, Free. You already know.
Civil rights activist, Pan-Africanist, Black nationalist. I was pretty much breastfed on revolution and revolutionary ideas from the moment I was born.
Your mama was the first political prisoner?
I'm getting there.
All right.
My mother was also the first modern day political prisoner after Rosa Parks during the civil rights Black Power movement. She was framed for her work. She co-founded an organization called Black Youth for Peace and Power. And in her youth, her school, they were trying to ship all the students from her Black school to a white school, so the students began to organize themselves. It got so massive that the state of Florida actually bombed their meeting one day. And she was targeted ever since. She was framed, ended up in prison, 11 months at solitary confinement at the age of 20. There was a Free Connie Tucker campaign where organizations from the Uhuru movement under the leadership of Omali Yeshitela, you all should know APSP, the African People's Socialist Party, in conjunction with Kwame Ture, AKA Stokely Carmichael, and the All African People's Revolutionary Party, students from SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, as well as SCLC under the leadership of Martin Luther King through James Orange and a number of others, organized a march from Alabama all the way to Florida, where they were able to eventually free her through the Free Connie Tucker campaign. So as you can see through my history, my father as well, he's from the Gambia. He was sent to Tuskegee, Alabama on a scholarship, agricultural scholarship. He was already an activist in the Gambia. As a matter of fact, in his teenage years, him and his brothers brought Kwame Ture, AKA Stokely Carmichael, to the Gambia. So as a student at Tuskegee University, he was a roommate with Mukasa Dada, Willie Rich.
Wow. Wow.
As you can see, my parents' union was based on Brother Mukasa and the movement.
Yeah.
And when she was freed, they met each other, they fell in love, and then boom, that's how I came. My sister Maya. So I have, let me just, my battery, let me just turn the battery on. Sorry. So I have been, one second. Ooh, Lord. All right, I'm back. All right, yeah, we're on, all right. So, like I said earlier, I was breastfed on the movement, and I come from a very strong movement lineage, even way down further. My great-great-grandfather, Sheikh Omar Foutiyou Tall, which is like a fourth generation on my father's side, was what you would call one of the largest revolutionaries in West Africa fighting against the colonialists in the 1800s. He was also very spiritual. They say that he disappeared in Iraq and in Mali in a place called Banjangara. And you go to places, you hear all type of mystical stories that the trees bow. He talked to animals. He was very spiritually inclined when it comes to healing and things of that nature. So on both sides of my heritage is very strong when it comes to the movement, when it comes to liberation of African people, when it comes to organizing. And so it's just deeply embedded in who I am as an individual. I moved back to the United States in the 80s after living in the Gambia and I grew up very privileged in the Gambia, maids, going to the best schools with presidents' sons and this and the other. So, and living in an African society, I wasn't really used to racism. It wasn't until we moved back to the United States in the 80s and I went to Edisto Middle School where I found myself, and because I was, very advanced at this private school in the Gambia, that I ended up in the highest class of the middle school that I was in. But it was only 3 other Black kids in my school, and I was not used to racism. So coming back fresh from the Gambia, West Africa, I was called African booty scratcher, big lip, go back to Africa, everything. So as you can see, I pulled this. So a whole year, I just walked around doing this because it started to infuse a form of self-hatred inside of me. And so it got to the point where I couldn't take the racism. And we found out about a Black boarding school in Mississippi called Piney Woods Country Life School. And so my sister, myself, and the members of my family ended up going to Piney Woods in Mississippi because it was a Black boarding school. And it gave us some form of identity. And just being in a Black environment, it was just different from being in that racist environment. Unfortunately for me, I went down to Selma, Alabama, where my mother had moved as executive director of 21st Century Youth Leadership. which was an organization that worked directly with young people, teaching them leadership skills, organizing, etc. And so when I came down to Selma and I found them involved in the movement, she was involved in 21st Century, and then Fire Rose also had a performing arts theater group called BBAC, Black Belt Arts and Culture Center. I was like, forget Piney Woods. I need to be here with Mama. So I ended up staying in Alabama with Mama and ended up being a part of the Selma movement against racial tracking, which was a movement that fought against miseducation in the school system. Specifically, we had a Black superintendent, Norwood Roussel, who had been fired by an all-white school board. And so the churches, the organizations led by this movement, Selma movement against racial tracking, a lot of the leaders were my mother, in addition to Fire Rose Touré, Hank Sanders, Reverend Reese. It was just so many people in Selma that was a part of that movement. So at the age of 13, I was protesting in front of City Hall. I had a sign that said, "Honk your horns for miseducation." My mother was protesting as well. We were all arrested. We were arrested, taken to jail in Selma, Alabama. And have I frozen? Are you there? Have I frozen? Can y'all hear me? Okay,
You're good. We hear you.
Okay, cool. So from there, we were put in jail. And I specifically remember as we were put into the elevator, the white policeman took my mother's fingers and began to bend them back, trying to break them. My mother's 5'4". And she said, "Break the motherfuckers, break the motherfuckers." This was her form of I guess you could say, reverse psychology on the police so they wouldn't harm her. And they stopped. So for me, that was a wake-up call at the age of 13, being arrested for the movement. Myself and Inka Sanders, amongst other young youth leaders and organizers at Selma High School. I was at West Side. Are you all there with me? Thing just happened.
West Side, I hear you, Oli.
The internet is kind of shaky.
That's all right, we can hear you.
You coming through.
We ended up leading the high school students at West Side middle school to connect with the students at Selma High School, 5-day, 4-night takeover of the school, where the National Guard had to come. We galvanized students, organizers from all around the country, from Tuskegee University, different colleges and universities who came, participated, and were part of this movement. So for me, at a very, very young age, I was on the front lines of organizing. From there, I participated in the Selma movement, and then continued to organize, and then we ended up moving to Atlanta, Georgia. While I was in Atlanta, Georgia, I co-founded an organization called Ujima with other school friends of mine, and also a high school organization called Straight Up, because Stone Mountain was very racist to the point where we had to cancel prom because some students had gone into a Black classroom drawing swastikas all over. So we organized a student walkout for that, and Straight Up was formed with me and my schoolmates, in addition to Ujima. And then from a national level, we created an organization called the Youth Task Force, founder of with Malika Sanders, Kevin Ladarius, and Angela Brown. The Youth Task Force was the Southeast region of youth organizations throughout the United States of America, and we ended up even bridging that. And at the age of 17, organized in Birmingham, Alabama, called Unity in the Community, Peace in the Streets for a Strong Black Nation, where we took about 50 young people from Atlanta to join the young Birmingham activists, and we organized a march where we were brutalized by a melee of 100 police. It ended up being on ISB magazine, you name it. And so we weren't going down like that. We went back a month later with over 500 young people nationally. We won that fight against Browning Ferris industry. So I've been in this for a very, very long